Good morning, students. Today we will see the essay on immunity. Okay, so how the questions will be asked is describe the humoral immunity. Okay, the mechanism of humoral immunity, and they can add a note on autoimmune diseases. Similarly, for cell-mediated immunity, describe the mechanism of cell-mediated immunity. Add a note on graft rejection. Okay. So for humoral immunity, what you have to write is, first you have to explain the immunity. It is the ability of the body to defend against microorganisms, and the mechanism is the humoral immunity mediated by B lymphocytes, that you have to write. And these B lymphocytes, they act themselves as antigen presenting cells. They take up the antigen and they process and they present the antigen to the helper T cells, and the helper T cells will secrete interleukins, that is cytokines, and they differentiate the B cells into plasma cells, and the plasma cells secrete antibodies, and these antibodies attack the antigen by various process. Like the antibodies will cover the microbes, that is agglutination, or they will cover the toxin producing sites, that is called neutralization, or these antibodies will neutralize the toxins directly. Okay, they form clumps with the toxins, that is called precipitation, or these antibodies will coat the antigen and make it tasty, so that phagocytosis will take place, or this antigen antibody complex will activate the complement system, and this complement will cause holes, perforating membrane form proteins. These perforins will destroy the antigens. These are the mechanisms by which the humoral immunity will be explained. Then we have cell-mediated immunity, which it is mediated by the T lymphocytes, and the helper T cells, they require the T lymphocytes, they require an antigen presenting cells for antigen presentation to them, that is by the macrophages, and these macrophages engulf and they digest and they present the antigen to the T cells, and the T cells, they get activated. There are two types of T cells based on the antigen presentation cell. If the antigen presenting cell is having a MHC1, it will be recognized by the CD8 T cells, which are the suppressor and cytotoxic T cells. And if the antigen presentation is along with the MHC2 complex, it will be recognized by the CD4 helper T cells. As you know, this helper T cells is going to secrete cytokines, that is going to differentiate the B cells, that will activate the formation of antibodies, and that will have helping in the humoral immunity. And the cytotoxic T cells will directly lyse the antigen by forming hole forming proteins, the perforins, and these suppressor T cells, which is also a CD8 T cells, will check the activity of the cytotoxic T cells. So these things you have to write for cell-mediated immunity. So immunity is a very frequent question where we have humoral immunity and cell-mediated immunity. And regarding autoimmunity, you should write about the what is autoimmunity. It is the protection of the antibody against body's own antigen or the receptors. A very good example is the myasthenia gravis, where the antibodies against acetylcholine receptors are produced in the neuromuscular junction, and that leads to the muscle weakness. And regarding the graft rejection, this was mediated by the T lymphocytes, and this plays very important role in the organ rejection. So once the organ is transplanted, it has to be accepted by the immunity of the particular recipient. If the recipient antigen T cells are activated, they will reject the graft. That is called graft rejection, and this will be treated with immunosuppressive drugs. Thank you.